Right on.
All right, so everyone who's tuned in, thanks again. We really had a lot of great feedback from our episode one, and we're really excited to have Dr. Too Good on here. She's helped many athletes, professional Olympians along the way, myself included, and we're very excited to have her on board here with what we're trying to do to add more value and help you guys be better athletes on and off the field, better people on and off the field, and going forward that way. So DJ is going to say a couple words, and I think we're going to do a little moment of silence, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah, no. Welcome back, everyone. It's great that you guys are back tuning in for another episode. And like Andrew said, Doctor Too Good is world renowned. She's helped athletes at all levels, all stages of their life, in all sports, both genders, all genders. So it's fantastic that she's been able to take the time today on a holiday, nonetheless, to come and kind of speak her wisdom and her words of encouragement and expertise to the Pro Prep family. And again, thank you for tuning in. Without further ado, I'm going to hop off and Dr. Too Good's going to hop on the Instagram Live right away. And everyone, feel free to shoot in your questions or comments here in the comments header, and I'll be answering them on my end. And then Andrew and Dr. Too Good will be able to kind of reference those as we move forward. But if you guys don't mind, can we please take a brief moment of silence here in respect to our veterans? Thank you. Andrew, I'll take off, and Adrian, Dr. Too Good, if you want to hop on an Instagram Live there, we'll be ready to start.
Awesome. Thanks, DJ. There we go. We did it. Awesome. There you go. Magic. All good. All good. Technology is amazing. Gotta utilize it. So everyone who's on the call, who's joined us, we're very, very excited to have Dr. Tuga here with us. As DJ and I both mentioned, she's helped a number of different athletes from all different walks of life, from grassroots to professionals to Olympians. And I mean, I think I'm just gonna kind of jump in here and talk about how she helped me personally. I was going through a rough stage last year, and you know, I'm one of those people that I'm very, very tough to let my guard down and open up and speak about certain things. And um, a lot of people think as an athlete, it's all about what you do in the gym and how you perform in the field, but the mental side of things and making sure that you're very efficient, how you process, um, the information you're getting, how you're processing things in the field, how you're dealing with adversity, how you're overcoming success, how you're overcoming failures. And there's a lot of different ways that we can manage these things, and a lot of different ways for us to overcome these things. And I think that Dr. Too Good is again, from coming from firsthand, he's helped myself and others on my team, and I've seen the difference in myself after speaking with her. And it's not one of those things that just happens overnight. It's definitely a work in progress. And you have to constantly work on these things to better yourself and to get the most out of what you're trying to do. So I'll leave it here with you, Doc, and you kind of take it away, and we'll have a little conversation. And again, if there's any questions of what she's saying, please don't hesitate, whether on Zoom or on Instagram. Just drop a comment in there, or you can actually message DJ directly if you don't want to, have your name out there on in the comments. And yeah, we can just have a conversation, and we'll kind of just address the questions as they come in. There you go.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, there we go. There we
Okay.
go. Thank you.
Sorry, man, you know, like technology, it's not a strength, Andrew, huh?
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
Um, yeah, but I think that, you know, for me, if we look at what's happening right now, like for example, at the when the Olympic Games got canceled, you know, the Canadian Olympic Committee had an astronaut, his name's Chris Hadfield, a Canadian astronaut, come talk to us. And he had some, you know, great points. And he just talked about how, the fact that we're in a new reality right now. You know, it's different right now, and you know, we need to learn how to become experts in what we need right now. And for a lot of athletes, we think of field of play issues, but it also is, you know, getting to know yourself. And similar to your physical stuff, where you pay attention to, you know, how your body's feeling and how you're adapting to load and things like that. For me, I always try and demystify the mental part about it and the human part about it. And you have to pay attention to yourself and how you're handling the load as well. And mentally tough and being resilient doesn't mean that you ignore how you're feeling and you push through it, because that only lasts so long. Similar to your body, if you've got an injury, you know, you have to attend to it. So being tough is actually being aware of how you're feeling, working through it and knowing the types of things that throw you off and having a plan for it. So a big part for me is just knowing who you are and how you're wired. And it's never wrong and it's never bad. You know, like you're perfect the way you are, and you're going to be your best when you pay attention, you're honest with yourself and how you're adjusting to it. So we're all humans first, basically. That's just the way it goes. And humans do great things. And that's why we love sport. And sport actually is this unbelievable opportunity for us to learn and grow and become better. The other thing right now too is it depends where everyone's at. Like there's just, you know, like we've had round one of COVID, now everything shut down again. And, but for a lot of athletes, when they returned to play, they found that was even hard because it wasn't the same maybe, or maybe you were worried that you lost time and you're wondering how it was going to go. And, you know, all that can be hard too. So it's really important that you pay attention to how you're reacting to that stuff, and you can't change who you are. If you're working with you guys, you know, in the Pro Prep Academy, then you're a pretty dedicated athlete and you love pushing yourself and you love being your best. And you can't just pretend, you know, you don't care and not try anymore. You just have to figure out what that means in the context of now. But you still have to strive. You still have to feel like you're getting better. And in a way, the world's given you a great opportunity to learn resilience because, you know, there's a lot of adversity right now. And when we look at people who thrive and do well during these times, they are people who embrace the opportunity to grow. And so I think if you think about, well, how can I get better right now? How is this going to help me when I return to play? Like all that can be a really great perspective and help you get better. But lots of loss right now. You know, you guys, you know, after winning a Grey Cup, you don't think, wow, next season, let's take it off, you know? So I think you can relate to that. And that's the cool part about you and DJ is that you live it, and you're passionate about sports. So you get all these people that are working with you and all the challenges that they're experiencing. But yeah, I'll just stop.
One of the things that I kind of have issues with, and it happens to me every single off season, is I'll go through my training and kind of getting ready for this season. And I kind of get this paranoia right before training camp. And like, what if I can't read a defense? What if I'm not as fast? What if I can't catch the ball? What if I can't do the things that I am used to doing? I remembering myself to just because I've taken this 6 months off, you know, or the 5 months off from being active in those live reps. And that honestly freaks me out a lot. And it kind of puts me in a weird state of, you know, kind of fight or flight. You know, I got to fight through this. You know, it's gonna be one of those things where I'm not the same. I'm not the same player mentally, but it's a constant battle every single time that I take time off or something, and I'm not doing something, and I'm like, what if I can't do this anymore? You can kind of shed some light on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, well, I think a lot of people can relate to what you're saying. You know, I don't think that I think that it's pretty common for a lot of people. And again, for me, it's about noticing and understanding how you're wired. Right now, the Masters is starting, which is a golfing event that everyone's really into golf. I imagine it's really tough sport. I know, but like the Masters is happening right now and all that kind of stuff. And there was one guy who's on the PGA Tour now. When he was PGA Canada, he was in town and he was talking to me and he was saying, like, God, I always freak out on the first tee. The big gallery is there. I don't play well. And one of the things we talked about was then rather than being surprised that that happens, why don't you plan for it and figure out how to maximize, yourself. And so everyone listening is different. And for some people, they probably, what you said just like totally fits for them. I know, a cyclist, Leah Kirschman, when their season was stopped and they started again, she was pretty stressed out about, she's never taken like 2 months off in the middle of a season before, didn't know where she'd be at. So with that one, with return to play, I think a big part of it that I talk to people about is, you don't know what to expect from yourself. So rather than like, I don't know if to expect this, you don't know. But what you can do is you can know the processes that really work for you, and you can expect yourself to do all that stuff really, really well, and just see where you're at and see how much better you can get. So, getting back to focusing on that. And then thinking about, you. So with that situation as well, lots of things we can do around that, right? You can think about, when's times when I've had that experience in the past and how did I perform? And you can literally plan to think about different things that are going to help you out. Because otherwise, if we don't kind of plan for it, our brain just does whatever we're feeling in the moment, and sometimes that's helpful and sometimes it's not so helpful. So instead, it's much better to think about, well, what do I want to be thinking about? What is going to help me out in that situation? And then let's go for it. Something that's a bit unrelated too is this idea of confidence. Confidence is something we talk about a lot, and for me, confidence is a pretty fragile little beast there. And so I think too, for some athletes, maybe this year hasn't been whatever, and they're going to another level next year and they've never been at that level before, and so for them, it's, it'll be really important for them to plan to grow their confidence, and quite honestly, when they head into that next level, to really know who they are and when they perform their best, because it's so tempting when you get to, maybe you're going off to college next year, you're going somewhere else. It's so tempting to look around and see what everyone else is doing. And it doesn't really matter what other people are doing. Like, you're there because you are great and you've earned the spot. So you need to really pay attention to what works for you and go in with a good sense of that, or else we do start looking around and look at what the other people are doing. So really important to know you, know when you're your best, understand the things that tend to get in your way, and then plan for them. So the reality is, if people are, wondering how they're going to perform when a season starts, and taking chunks of time off is something that worries them, it's probably going to be a little bit more amplified this year because you might have taken more time off. So understand that about yourself, plan for it, and then be prepared so you can perform consistently when you get there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of listeners and people that are on here that are, whether they're 12-year-olds or 15-year-olds going to varsity, but every year as you go forward, people are getting bigger, faster, stronger, more talented, and there's always going to be that worry of where do I fit in? Am I going to make the AAA team? Am I going to make the P1 team? Am I going to be Am I going to be in the same role? And another part of that is when we talk about roles, is as you go through your career and life, is kind of finding where you fit in. And those ways kind of change those roles kind of change as you evolve as a person, as an athlete. And, sometimes that's a hard pill to swallow, is, like I need to change who I was and adapt into the new role, into the new team. And kind of sometimes maybe not redefining yourself, but finding just where you fit in. So you're part of that team. We talk about team sports and how great it is to win in a team atmosphere. But I think, just finding your role within a new team, a new atmosphere, can sometimes be pretty stressful and frustrating when you're not in that same role, or that same, I might have been a team captain the year before, and now you're the young player on the team, and trying to figure out, how do I get back into that spot, or what do I bring to the table to get back in that role.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And when you first started chatting, I had a couple thoughts that were going through my mind, and even, like what level will I land at? Will I make AAA? Will I make A1? And sometimes that stuff can really stress us out because we don't know and we can't control stuff, parts of that. We just can't, right? But what we can do is we can go out there and we can be the best version of ourselves. We can focus on the stuff we can control and, see where we end up. But in general, we're not going to be disappointed if we know we've done our best. We get disappointed, and when we feel we could have done more, when we get distracted, when we didn't give it our all, when we don't give it our best, that's when we get disappointed. But I absolutely love what you talked about, because I think today it's this whole team thing. Being part of a team, accepting our role. I think that we have a tough time doing that. Everyone wants a certain role. Everyone does. I remember when I was at the World Championships with Team Canada Hockey. And let me tell you, when you're talking to all the athletes before the game, no one dreams about being on the fourth line when you're on the national team. Everyone wants to be the first line player, but there's only so many first line players, and you can make a huge difference and contribute to the team. Sammy Jo Small is a great example of that. She just actually wrote a book, and she's a nice Manitoba goalie. And, she talked about how going into the gold medal game, she wanted to be the starting goalie. She got a call the night before and they made a different decision. And so she was a bit upset in her room, but then decided that she was going to be the best backup goalie you've ever had, and the game went into overtime. She played a huge role in that team. She helped everyone know how to shoot on the opposing goalie because she's a goalie and she understood, right? So she could have, and so you're going to make the team better, and you can contribute in other ways. Another example of that, there was a guy who was over playing in Europe for his first year playing professional volleyball, and he had a great season, came back, and I asked him what he learned. And he said, what I learned is that when I'm not scoring, when my offense isn't there, I can still contribute to the team in other ways. So a lot of times when we're having other girl player, how do you contribute to the team in other ways? And let me tell you, it feels pretty darn good when you contribute to the team in other ways. And so those are tricky things to learn, though. I don't think you mentioned the ages of people on there. I'm not really sure that I would have been good at that, but and I remember even when I worked at K-State, we were watching I think it was a basketball game, and one of the people sitting beside me, someone fouled out who was like, the stud on the team kind of thing. And before they left the court, they went around and they made sure every one of those teammates, because it's a bit of a deflator when that person can't play anymore. So they went around, made eye contact, and make sure everyone knew the game wasn't over and they were fully capable of doing this. And the person beside me said, "Wow, that's leadership." And I was thinking, yeah, it is. But again, I don't know if I would have been able to do it. I would have been bitter about fouling out, So it's unbelievable when people get to the place where they're able to contribute to their teams in that way. Because that's what great teams are part of, and you were part of one of those last year.
Yeah, I think sometimes as the star player, so to speak, you get kind of lost in your own game and your own mind. And we all do. We all want to be the best player or person that we are, in no matter what we're doing. But we don't realize that we're still a big influence on a lot of other people, and we can help motivate and keep a team, keep a family, keep a friend group, no matter what it is, in the right direction. I think that's really powerful if you're able to kind of set your ego aside and be able to lift up a group of people to do something great and be able to watch from the sideline and still be a part of that.
Yeah, that's huge. And quite honestly, you're talking about if you're a star player, being able to do that. And if you're the star player, you have the most power to do that in that group, right? Everyone's going to listen to you. Yeah. So you set the culture, you set the tone. It's huge.
Hey, Dr. Toogood, we got a question here.
On just ways to deal with a bad performance. Everyone has bad games. Everyone has, bad tryouts, bad practices. Some kids are, having scouts come to games now, and there's moments where we feel like we failed. How do we get ourselves out of that rut? I mean, for me, it's as simple as flush the good play, flush the bad play onto the next. But I think it's a little tougher than just saying that. I think there's a lot of people that kind of go and bury those things and really have hard times kind of getting past those bad plays, bad games, bad tryouts, no matter what it is, and really kind of revamping and getting their confidence back and getting their mindset right. So is there anything you can kind of touch on as far as that's concerned?
Yeah, man, that's a huge one, right? And so I think I have sort of a philosophy about that I want to just talk about it broadly because I think it's incredibly important, and even in the context of right now, because right now we've got a ton of micro fails going on, right? Like you're like, wow, I thought I had it down, but I don't know how to do that in my basement. Like we're just all learning, and like look at this Instagram live, like I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Like, we have lots of moments to figure stuff out right now. Um,
Yeah,
but failure in general, right? Like great performances. Are a result of all sorts of things. And so first of all, it's like I'm a huge believer in like not judging, like learning and getting better, learning and growing. And gosh, tough moments are tough. And the more pain you experience, the more you invested your heart and soul, and I guess I believe in having processes in place that we can continue to invest our heart and soul into things, because that's what living is about, and that's why sport is great, is just going for it. And we need to figure it out and give ourselves things so we can do that. So I'm going to tell a little bit of a random story. You know Andrew knows me a little bit better, so he probably won't be super shocked by that. But um, I have a lecture series every year, and one of my speakers was a heart surgeon. His name's Kurt Tribble, with a C. You can look him up. He's an unbelievable human being. Like seriously, I was doing did my lecture virtually this year because of the situation, and so I was just interacting with him a couple weeks ago around that, and just he's an incredible person. But anyways, he gave his talk, right? And so someone asked him a question afterwards, and they say to him like, "Oh, like what do you do when you lose a patient?" Because in his world, when he screws up, like someone dies. Like he's a heart surgeon, and because he's so good, he gets really complicated cases. He's got to be good. And he said, I had to figure that out, because if I didn't figure that out, I couldn't keep being a heart surgeon. And he said, for me, it was remember and forgive. And so if I lose a patient, I spend time reflecting on that operation so I can honor their life by becoming a better doctor moving forward. And then I need to forgive myself. And he said the latter was pretty hard to learn how to do. And it's a bit counterintuitive, because we think, man, he should feel horrible. But
yeah,
ultimately, if he's operating on you or someone you love at 1 o'clock, do you want him feeling horrible, or do you want someone who's done remember and forgive, right? And it's the same thing. If I'm your teammate and you just screw up a play, do I want the guy moping in the corner, or do I want the guy that's ready to go and battle in the next play? So philosophically, I just believe that that's a huge thing. And then everyone's got to figure out what it means to them, right? And they got to figure out a process. For you talked about flushing a toilet. What I do know is when we're in that situation, there's like, I'm a huge into like how the brain works and stuff, and psychophysiology and all that kind of fun stuff. And I actually was at a conference once, and it was this, it was about like multiple trauma or something like that. And I was in the food line when we did that. We don't do that anymore. We don't even do live things anymore. But someone knows the work I do, and they were kind of like, "What the hell are you doing at this conference?" And I said, "Man, if you want trauma, go into sport, man. These people get way more trauma than any of you. It's just smashed together." Um, and quite honestly, there was one athlete that I was chatting with, and she would have been at the Olympics in the summer. It got canceled. She was unbelievable, totally ready to do it. And she was returning to play, and she was pretty broken, like having a really hard time getting going again. And
yeah,
we were actually sitting at a Tim Hortons patio, because you can't really meet anywhere anymore. And she was very emotional, and she was chatting. And I said, "You know what? You did your job. You're broken right now because you invested everything you had, everything you possibly had to make that happen. So we need to get you better again, because you got to do that again, because that's the way you want to live, like you got to invest, and so you got to have a process to heal." And then I often will talk about that in the context of a poet that I quite like, Maya Angelou. She has passed away, but she's incredible. She actually has a really cool poem called Caged Bird, that talks about the difference between a caged bird and a free bird. And to me, it really epitomizes that, when you're just in the moment and playing and loving it. But she wrote her autobiography, and someone was, chatting with her about that, and, asked her if she wished some of those experiences didn't happen to her. And she said, "You know what? I don't will any of those experiences away, because every experience I had creates the wise woman who stands before you today." And so that's the journey of sport, right? Is learning and growing and getting better. And so if you just absolutely mailed it in, it was like horrible. Okay, well, you weren't ready yet, or you made a mistake, whatever, but you know what you need to do is you need to remember and forgive. You need to like debrief and learn from that experience, because otherwise your brain's smart. And when you're in that situation again, your brain's going to be scared, and you're going to
yeah,
be afraid of replicating it, right? So you have to think it through. You have to think about how you want to respond in that situation the next time it happens, and literally visualize yourself responding in a more helpful way, so that you're ready to respond in a different way. Um, but adversity is what builds strength. And when I've worked with teams, championship teams a lot, they have a lot of shit that happens the year. Oh, sorry about that. But, you know, a lot of stuff goes down, Andrew. A lot of stuff goes down in that season, you know, and it gets you ready. If it's too clean, I'm nervous, man, you know, but if stuff goes down and even, you know, maybe a bunch of starters get hurt and other people have to pick up the slack, I'm like, beautiful, because
Yeah.
those people are going to learn how to lead too. Because at the end of the day, in the big moments, we never know who's going to have the opportunity to lead on a team. And sometimes it's not the person you choose. And you know what? They better feel comfortable leading and being ready to
Yeah.
go. Um, so for me, that's the way it goes. And quite honestly, when Kurt was in town, we did a grand rounds at Health Sciences Center. And one of the doctors was talking about an experience he had like a decade ago, and he's super emotional talking about it. And one of the other doctors stood up and they said, man, if you haven't had an experience like that, you're not a real doctor. And that's what I say to my athletes. If you haven't been really broken, if you haven't had been, you know, super hurt, cried, upset, then you haven't gone all in yet. You know, you haven't really given it your everything. And that's what's so beautiful. Sport is an excuse to go all in and see what you can do. And so I want people to, you know, heal and get better so that they have the opportunity to do that on a macro level, but then within the context of a competition in a game. I don't want you to know after the game that you should have changed something. I want you to have the courage to look and figure it out during the game.
Yeah, there's like a million different cliches going through my mind while you're talking. It's like you talked about last week, control the controllables. You know, go 110%. You know, if you don't go 110%, then you didn't play the best game. And, I mean, there's so many different things that I've heard through my athletic career that kind of resonate with that and are true. You just got to find what applies to you as an athlete and what kind of gets you going. I mean, one of the things that I really kind of hit me a couple years ago, we took my daughter's team to Regina. We were playing in a higher age limit and playing against prep teams. So we went to the finals, and I'd never seen the girls show any emotion really, like win or lose. You know, there's a couple that showed things, but anyways, we lost in overtime, and the girls were all crying. And it literally took my daughter alone like a little while to get over it. And I was kind of, you know, okay, why is this happening? But everyone has their moments where they fail, they lose, and everyone has different ways of dealing with things, dealing with adversity, stress, anxiety. But that's the beautiful part about it is that you're still able to overcome these things, and you're still able to give everything that you need and have, and then realize that I can still go back out and give them all.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. Everyone is different, right? And there's someone named Susan David, and she talks about emotional agility and this idea of being curious and compassionate when you have emotions. And she very much uses different analogies, like a boat has all these different things to determine whether or not it's on the right path, right? Like it might have a lighthouse or depth perception or all that kind of stuff. And her thing is that, you know, humans aren't born with that stuff. We're born with emotions, right? So emotions are fine. You know, we get into trouble when we push them down and we try not to feel them. You know, it's not a big deal. There doesn't have to be any judgment, but yeah, everyone does deal with it in a different way. And however you deal with it is you, and it's all good.
Awesome. So we do have a couple questions. We only got about 10 more minutes here.
Sure.
But, we'll just try to hammer some of these away here. I think this has been great. So had some good questions coming in here. So what is the best way to keep our confidence in these difficult times?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Tough one.
I don't know. For sure. Well, yeah. I wonder if we keep it or if we kind of grow it or, you know, I just think of something like hardiness, you know, and I think a big thing is that we have to kind of know who we are and what our values are, and you know, embrace the opportunity to grow during this time. We have to do all that. There's lots of little things we can do though in terms of, because do we keep our confidence or do we get better? You know, like I wonder if we almost have to sit down and talk about, okay, where am I at right now? And where do I want to be when I return? And what kinds of things do I need to do so that I can be that person when I return? And, you know, confidence is all sorts of things. Like we can look at, you know, video reels of when we have done things that are successful. We can look at games and do tactical analysis. So there's lots of stuff that we can do. So I guess that one I'd want to know a little bit more in terms of where our confidence was, where we wanted to get to, what things are getting in the way of it. Because again, confidence is a big thing for me as well. the actions that we could do can grow our confidence, every day. So if you're doing technical work, every time you do technical work, grow your confidence. And quite honestly, a huge way to grow your confidence is working at the stuff where you have the most opportunity to improve, i.e. the stuff that you're not very good at and that you never. Usually in sport careers, we're just so busy performing that we never have the time to break things down and never have time to really correct stuff. Now we're being gifted that opportunity. So, we can grow our confidence by saying, you know what? I've always struggled at this part of my game. I'm actually going to get better at it. I'm going to, do this stuff and I'm going to improve at it right now. And there's no pressure on me to perform.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, even for myself and DJ, and I mean, a bunch of other people, I'm sure, but doing things that we are not given the time to do before. So now with COVID, with the isolation, we have more time to kind of do things we've never gotten a chance to kind of get around to. There's certain little skill sets, there's certain things in your life that you might have put aside because real life or what you put the most energy into has kind of been your main focus. So now it's like, okay, well, now I have the opportunity to kind of do something, to have more time in my hands. Maybe there's more of an opportunity somewhere else, and to kind of evolve that way. So you can build confidence in just being a more roundabout person, athlete, doing different things to elevate yourself, whether it's in the books or whether it's certain skills and things that you can kind of do on your own. So I think all those things, kind of just making you overall a better person, are going to give you that confidence and again just help you be more of a well-rounded person.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Love that.
Yeah. Okay, another one we have here. How do we overcome social anxiety in order to play sports and be part of a team and to compete? So it's someone who has some social anxiety, just to kind of get into sports.
Yeah, no, that's tricky. And I think, again, we have to honor where the person's at, right? And so I think we break it down. We make sure they have some people in their life that they're really comfortable with, so they can be very honest with about where they're at. And we never push them beyond where they are. We challenge them, but we never push them so that they break, just like we never push people to like experience a physical injury. But yeah, social anxiety is tough. I think as well, there's lots with anxiety you can do to empower the person. Breathing can be a really awesome tool, so you can give them some tools that they can do with breathing. You can make sure that the leadership and the team knows the situation, but sport and other, like, lots of things are great opportunities to overcome stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I think honestly, I mean, as difficult it might be to kind of make that leap or get into it, you'll realize that most teams and most good organizations, and having a good support system within and again, maybe warning the coaching or the administrative or whoever is involved, but being a part of a team will actually help increase that social part of your life and overcoming adversity within a sport and building confidence and getting better at something, and just building towards a common goal of getting out there and playing a game with your peers.
Absolutely.
Definitely helps build confidence. So great question. I think we got a couple more here. Is that it? Anyone else? Any more questions? Here, hold on.
How do you stay focused and motivated to keep playing your specific sport? I see that one down there.
There you go. You got it.
Yeah. And again, I think that it can't be about the sport right now. We don't know what sport looks like. We don't know where we're going about. It has to be about getting better. And as you said earlier, Andrew, investing in you, like seeing what you can do to get better right now. Because there's just so much unknown with the whole sport piece, I think.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. I thought that was great. I really appreciate you, Dr. Toogood, coming on here and shedding some of your wisdom and knowledge on us. And again, I think a lot of people need to realize that everyone's going through, a lot of tough. Oh, we got one more here. Sorry, we got a little more time here. Hold on. What's the biggest thing outside of the sport we can do to stay on the right track? So what's something that we can do among, outside of sport that kind of keeps us in that mindset to stay on track?
Yeah, I guess for me, I just think about values and knowing why you're doing it. And I think we have to know kind of who we are and what we want to do. I just listened to a great podcast about leadership. It's like 4 minutes, actually. It's really cool. But it's Amy Edmondson who does a ton of that work. And she was talking about leadership during this time. And, a big thing is knowing what your values are and making decisions from that. And she talked about it during this time. It's not about having a map, it's about having a compass, and so you kind of have to know what your North Star is, why you do it, what you want to do. And you have to keep coming back to that, I think.
and what you want to accomplish, whether it's making a certain team, getting a scholarship, whether it's scoring a certain amount of goals or breaking a record or whatever your reason and purpose is. Just kind of keep that goal, that track, that mind track, and every day just wake up and go put that the right step in the right direction to go and accomplish it. So,
Yep, I agree. And if
awesome.
you know your why, you
Okay.
can withstand any how. It's what one of my athletes said recently.
Awesome. Awesome. I love that. Love that. Well, thanks again. Thanks everyone for listening. Really appreciate it. Again, tune in next Wednesday. We'll have DJ Lalama on with sports strength conditioning segment with Jason Menez, I believe, right? DJ, give me a nod. Awesome. Yeah, with Jason Menez, and so we're looking forward to able to kind of continue to communicate with you guys. Still be around and add some value.